episode, we're addressing niche marketing, which is critical in today's new internet web maze. To navigate it, you're going to need to pick a niche, you're going to need to stick with it, and Derek's going to talk about how.
I know that you've got one of your clients that was at Jen Chapin. You got to tell the story about that.
Jen Chapin is a wonderful urban folk. That's her tag that she uses, her pitch, and you immediately get what it is. She's Harry Chapin's daughter, and that's nice, and that brings people in. But what she found was when she was pregnant with her son, Maceo, who's now 2, she wrote an album called Ready, which was all about getting ready to be a parent. And she put in a lot of themes about readying yourself for something new, talking about her son, and then her son was in the studio with her after he was born, and he's actually on the record, and she struck a chord with people that didn't pay attention to music, because what happened is she was a big advocate for being a mom and mothering and breastfeeding and organic, raising your children using World Hunger Year principles, which are eating locally and organically. So she managed to tie everything in. And all of a sudden, we had all these websites and all these magazines that were parenting magazines, very interested in her music. And these were magazines that didn't necessarily write about musicians. They wrote about motherhood, about breastfeeding, about parenting. And all of a sudden, I had this incredible angle. And I could say, hey, well, Jen Chapin is now a parent. This album is all about preparing for parenthood. And we had some amazing success in areas that we never would have been able to. So it gets right back down to that niche marketing. And so when you're thinking about your niche marketing artists, I think something to do is make a list of everything that turns you on and everything that you think isn't pertinent to your music career. Because what I can tell you is not every musician, of course, has the privilege or the pleasure of being a full-time musician. A lot of people have day jobs, families, lives outside of their musician lives, and you can actually use that to your benefit to tie in to your niche marketing. Yeah. I have one client, Block. He is actually a financial manager, and he manages money, but he writes music, and so he manages to talk about, not in his music, but he goes in interviews and talks about what his day job is, because he wasn't making it as a musician, and he's a very successful financial manager. And it's okay. It's okay. It actually, is something to talk about that's not just, music.
I don't know if anybody knows. I was in London over the summer, and almost as soon as I got there, they had this show called Britain's Got Talent that was kind of like American Idol or whatever, and this guy, this kind of quite ugly guy that worked at a cell phone company called Car Phone Warehouse. It's basically like the Best Buy of England. Lowly car phone warehouse salesman with bad teeth said that he wanted to be an opera singer. And then he kind of came out there and sang, and it was just like amazing. He ended up winning the entire thing, and now he has like a hit record in England, and he's performing like star on Broadway kind of thing. And people actually do love that story. Everywhere that ever talked about him loved mentioning. It's like, and look at this guy, he's just got a lowly job at a lowly kind of Best Buy or whatever, but he had the music in him, and they kind of love that story. So I don't think you should be afraid to talk about your day job. It depends for all, it's different for different genres. He was doing opera, whereas if you're trying to be like a cool, metal band, or whatever, it might not be, so cool to talk about your day jobs or whatever. But yeah, you shouldn't be afraid to talk about it. I think people like that angle.
There you go. Sound advice. I have 2 tips to follow up with that. There are 2 phenomenal books that I think every musician, especially ones that are interested in identifying their niche marketing, should read. One is called Riches in Niches. It's by a wonderful author named Susan Friedman. You can find it on Amazon.com. The other one to check out is an amazing article by Chris Anderson called The Long Tail. Chris Anderson is the editor of Wired magazine. He wrote a fabulous book based on the article. You can find it probably at wired.com, and the book is also called The Long Tail. You can find that anywhere, and it really talks about how selling very small amounts of very specific things is the wave of the future. And Derek's actually mentioned in that book, as is Netflix and some other really interesting niche companies. So those are the 2 tips for the day. This is Ariel with Sound Advice and Derek Sivers.